And hi everyone. I'm so happy to be with all of you. Yeah, I was just thinking it's actually exactly 3 years ago Eric and I were put together to do music for the online retreats where we started doing online retreats. And the song we're going to sing is actually one of the songs I received way back then. So yeah, it's called Close to You.
I would do anything to touch the sky. I would do anything to learn to fly. You are my goal, oh, what I am longing for. I am yours, forever yours. You are my goal, you're all I'm aiming for. You are my only goal, my purpose, my one choice. Trusting in you is all I want to do. My trust is in you. I'm longing to be close to you, close to you. Ooh, close to you, close to you. Ooh, longing to be close to you, close to you. Close to you. I am down on my knees and I pray to be in your arms, and you are holding me. I feel your love, oh, it's all I am longing for. I am yours, forever yours. You are my goal, you're all I'm aiming for. You are my only goal, my purpose, my one choice. Trusting in you is all I want to do. My trust is in you. I'm longing to be close to you, close to you. Ooh, close to you, close to you. Ooh, longing to be close to you. All that I give to me. All that I give will set me free. Take my hand and take my life. Show me the way to paradise. To paradise. I would do anything to touch the sky. I would do anything to learn to fly. You are my goal, oh, what I am longing for. I am yours, forever yours. You are my goal, you're all I'm aiming for. You are my only goal, my purpose, my one choice. Trusting in you is all I want to do. My trust is in you. I'm longing to be close to you, close to you. Close to you, close to you. Longing to be close
Thank you.
Thank you, Sava. We're all juiced up and happy with joy as we go into a very deep topic today. Yes, time, that is a juicy topic. That is something that if you go all the way, Eric was sharing last night that was a beautiful first clip we all got to watch from Waking Life, where basically the main character is saying that all of time, all of history, this is what Lady Gregory reveals to him, all of history is saying no to God. And then eventually comes the yes. And also from what Eric read last night that Svava had written and all of the talks we've had about the present moment, the power of now, the holy instant, that the holy instant is the yes. And Eric was sharing last night that basically time, the past and the future, is a distraction from the solution. Even the John Lennon song where he says, where I tell them there's no problems, only solutions. Well, the solution is the present moment, and the problem is linear time. Again, it's important to realize that eternity and time cannot coexist. One has to be real and one has to be false. And Jesus he's so straight with us. He says, as long as you believe in time, you have a split going on in your mind because time and eternity cannot coexist. God is eternal. God created you as a perfect child of God in eternity, in the mind of God, and you will only be happy, fully happy, when you know your true environment. Heaven, nirvana, call it whatever you want, eternity. You'll only find true, unbroken happiness and fulfillment in eternity. And time and eternity cannot coexist. So every frustration, whether it's around health, diet, interpersonal relationships, the environment, whether it's issues with work or your boss, with your neighbors, if it's issues with a mosquito, if you have issues with anything, it's a time issue, because time and eternity cannot coexist. One of the things Jesus says in the Course is, he says, you are guiltless in eternity. But, when Jesus uses the but, pay attention. If Jesus starts off, you are guiltless in eternity, and he puts a but in there, whatever comes after that but has to be important. This is no but dial on a phone call. This but, whatever comes after that but, is going to be something we're going to have to pay attention to. You are guiltless in eternity, but not in time. Okay, so he's just equated time with guilt. And all of us want to be guiltless. All of us want to be innocent. All of us want to be happy and joyful. And he says, you are guiltless in eternity, but not in time. That's important. That's important. So it's like, recently in the United States we had our elections for Congress and the Senate and presidential election, and of course there's elections in Europe and all around the world, and Jesus actually talks about an election in the Course. And this does not involve political parties, it doesn't involve Republicans or Democrats, it doesn't involve liberals or a conservative or Green Party. He says, you have elected to be in time. How's that? You have elected to be in time. What is an election but a choice, right? That's one of the topics that was raised last night. I know it was raised as a question written in about, I'm not understanding this choice thing, and I don't understand how it works and fits with the script as written. oh, I'll help you solve all the riddles today. But actually we need to start with, you have elected to be in time. An election is a choice. And if you have elected to be in time instead of eternity, that's the quote, you have elected to be in time instead of eternity, then what he's really saying is you have elected for guilt instead of innocence. Heaven, eternity, innocence. Linear time, guilt. You have elected to be in time. You have elected to identify yourself with a time invention. Time itself is an invention. It's fictitious. God didn't create time. God doesn't know of time. God doesn't know of this construct that's accepted as baseline, past, present, and future. God has no awareness of time, of linear time. And so, if we think about the cosmos of time and space, I use it as like a cosmic fig leaf, and Adam and Eve in the story with cover your private parts. Well, I'm saying time and space is a cosmic fig leaf. It's a hiding place. It's a place to try to hide from God. It's an attempt to try to hide from the source, hide from the Creator. That's why I call it cosmic fig leaf. It's a hiding place. I'm kind of borrowing from Genesis a little there. It's my own example. But think of it as just like a spider web. And what happens with spider webs, the spider spins the web, between two branches or between something and something, it spins the web, and it's not very easy for bugs, for moths and bugs and little bees and flies to see the spider web, and they're just happily, with their little wings, they're flying along one day, happy as can be, and they get stuck on the web. And suddenly they've gone from, whee, I'm flying in the breeze, to, oh my God, I'm lunch. I've turned into lunch. I was so happy that I was flying along, managed a little fly, and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm lunch. Because it's a feeling of being stuck. If any of you know anything about spider webs, they're sticky. Maybe as human beings you just get your broom out and you knock them around. But if you're as tiny as a gnat, that is like one sticky trap. And usually when you're on it, you're stuck there for good. You are lunch or dinner when you land on that thing. And so linear time, I can't really emphasize enough that linear time is like that spider web. It's a trap. It's really a trap for the Christ. It's a trap for the perfect, innocent, holy child of God. It's a trap of not knowing who you are. And the whole point of the trap is to make you reinforce the feeling of not being who you are, of being guilty. It's a trap to reinforce guilt. And so initially, as I talk about time as an illusion, I need to say one thing, that time and space are one illusion. And the closer you think of it to, we'll say, the projector of the mind, the closer it is to the projector, you think of it in terms of space, and the farther away it is from the projector, you think of it in terms of time. As an example, if you're going to go to the grocery store or a supermarket, you may think in terms of distance. You might say it's half a mile away, or 2 or 3 miles away, or 3 or 4 kilometers away. And sometimes you can flip that over to thinking it's 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away, it's a 10-minute walk, it's a 2-minute drive. And then if you go out further and further into the cosmos, when you start looking at the stars, the scientists don't describe them. When there gets to be too many zeros in terms of the miles, they don't say 120 million miles, or whatever, they start talking about light years. Scientists flip it into talking about time because the stars are seemingly much farther away from the projector than, for instance, your body, or than, for instance, the grocery store. Some distant star, like they talk about the Star of David in the Bible, there when Jesus was born, that the scientists describe it in terms of light years. If you think of it closer to the projector, it's usually thought of in distance terms, in spatial terms. If you think of it as farther away, it's thought of more in terms of time. I always use the example of Cleopatra. If I said to you, how many miles is Cleopatra away from you? You'd probably go, oh, David's lost it now. What is he on? How many miles away is Cleopatra? But if I said, how many years ago did Cleopatra live? Which is, Cleopatra's still in the mind. You think of it in terms of years, actually decades, centuries, from the time when Cleopatra lived and Julius Caesar. So time and space are one illusion, and all of it is make-believe, as Eric was sharing last night. It's all invented. It's all fictitious. It's all part of an egoic plan, the fall from grace, if you want to call it, the plan to keep you from knowing who you are in this moment. And the present moment is the gateway. Jesus tells us the present moment is the closest approximation of eternity. It's the portal. It's the gateway. Eckhart Tolle is one of the most respected teachers, spiritual teachers on the planet. And what's he been doing? He's just been talking about what for the last several decades? Now. He wrote a book, The Power of Now. He just goes on and on and on and on and on and on about the present moment in the most adorable way. And why is it adorable? Because somewhere deep inside, people know he's talking about something that's really important. It's not something to be casually dismissed. It's something that's really important. Why is it important? We'll go back to Jesus. You are guiltless in eternity, but not in time. And the present moment is the point of power. It's the point of release. It's the point of happiness. I've been sharing the idea for many years that I say there really are no problems in the present moment. Well, if that's true, then wouldn't you want to get to know that state of mind in which there are no problems, in which you know the grandeur of God, you know the grandeur of your true identity, the joy, the happiness, the lightness of being. Eric was sharing last night too that all sense of doing has a limitation to it, because all sense of doing has a sense of the body. And Jesus teaches us that at no single instant does the body exist at all. It is always remembered or anticipated. You hear that? It's always part of the cobweb of time. It's only remembered and it's only anticipated in the future. At no single instant does the body exist at all. And this may seem like an abstraction, but I will tell you that having experienced some revelations, which is a direct experience of the light, it cannot be taught or learned. It's an experience that it really, you can try to speak of it, but it doesn't. It's not really it, because the words it cannot be described. But the direct experience of the light is the experience of the holy instant. That's what the experience of the present moment is. In that moment, there are no bodies or thoughts of bodies. There are no problems. There is no world that even exists in this instant. That's why it is the gateway to eternity. Now, the ego invented linear time, and what is linear time except a construct of past, present, and future. And the ego invented time, and in that sense of past, present, and future, it invented the past, it invented that little blip that's in the middle, and it invented the future. So everything that is perceived as linear time, the past, this illusory little blip in the middle, and the future, are all three components are inventions of the ego. Why do I say the present moment is an invention of the ego? Because it's placed as a little teeny speck in between the past and the future, and that's not the present moment. The present is before time was. You might remember Jesus teaching that in the Bible. Before Abraham was, I am. That's what he was teaching. He's teaching that the present moment truly exists before time was. You will not ever find the present in between the past and the future. If you keep thinking about it, if it's this tiny little blip in between the past and future, you don't know what it is. In fact, it's not even close to the real present moment. It's not even close to the holy instant. And so if the present is before time was, what about the past? Well, Jesus tells us that the past seemed to happen long ago. It's an instant that was invented by the ego. Jesus calls it the time of terror. And this past was an invention of the ego, and all of history is more like a Groundhog Day looping of this unreal instant that in truth never even happened. In terms of practicality, we could say that the past is over and gone, and what Jesus is telling us now is what you're perceiving as the perceptual world. You're simply reviewing mentally what has already gone by. You're reviewing mentally the images of that blip of unholy instant that happened long ago. In fact, he will take us into a state of mind that shows us it never happened at all. But he's saying the only reason you experience difficulties is you're still using the power of mind and memory to hold in awareness something that is over and gone. You're still attempting to relive something that is gone. The Holy Spirit took that instant away because it had no reality, and in time this seemed to happen long ago, but while you experience struggle and strife, it's because it's this egoic attempt of using memory, which is an ability that the mind made up, to remember something that is over and gone. And actually memory, he tells us, can be used to remember the present. That's what Eckart's talking about. Using the power of your mind to access the present moment. Sometimes he will associate mind purely with ego, but it's actually, Jesus tells us, you can use memory, an invention of mind, to remember the present moment. So the present moment has nothing at all to do with the past. It is not in between the past and future. It has absolutely nothing to do with time. It's the gateway to eternity. And to give you an example, when you think that the present moment is associated with linear time, you think of it as in the middle, past, present, future. And then comes the causation thing. You think that the past causes the present and then the future. This is part of a strange belief that time moves forward. That's not even true. It's not true that time moves forward. But if you believe that the past causes the present and then continues on, carries on as the future, then you believe that the past is causative. You believe that the past causes the present. That's not true. And then from that interpretation of the past, which is the present moment being used for an unholy purpose, to analyze or figure out or interpret something as the past, then that's like being the maitre d', or the host or hostess for the future. Imagine you're thinking of the present moment as this little blip that's a maitre d'. It just ushers the past into the future. Be careful about that, because you don't want to mess with that maitre d', because that maitre d's invented too. God didn't create that maitre d'. The present moment is not some little blip that's ushering the past into the future. It's actually, that's a false interpretation, because why? Because the past has no value. It was not created by God. It has no existence. And if you believe in the past and this maitre d' into the future, you are condemning yourself to a future like the past. The ego wants this, because the ego says, you're guilty in the past. The ego says, no doubt. Come on, let's take a look at your past. You're guilty. And you follow the maitre d', you'll be guilty in the future. And now you know why Christians and many people in many religions talk about, whether you call it karma, you call it sin, you talk about you'll be judged in the end and you're going to burn in hell. You know where all this hellfire talk is coming about? In the Baptist and all the different Christian religions and most all religions on the planet. This dark, condemning future is coming from the belief in, guess what? Linear time. The belief, guilty past, maitre d' present, and condemned future. So the next time you feel somebody comes to your door and knocks on your door, the Jehovah's or the Mormons or something, and they come in and they say, God will judge you in the end, and you must accept the Lord Jesus Christ, or whatever. Yeah, the thing is, let that be translated as you need to know the present moment in order to know your true innocent self. That's how you interpret that. You don't have to interpret that it's a religion or some people coming from a religion to try to convince you of something. It's just another reminder. Jesus knocking on your door is saying, yeah, remember the holy present, where you are innocent and free, because you are not guilty in eternity. But if you continue to believe in linear time, you will experience guilt. That is a certain effect of the belief in separation. The belief in separation is not true either, so it's not like it's a destined effect, it's just a consequence of believing in separation, which I'm translating into believing in linear time. Now, practically speaking, we want to get to practicalities. You've written all these questions in, and you're like, wow, David's given us a lecture on time today. Well, that's just the workbook of A Course in Miracles. He starts off with lessons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, starting off with nothing I see means anything, and then you get to number 7, workbook lesson number 7, where he says, I see only the past. And that's the beginning of Jesus retraining the mind in order to accept the holy instant. Those first 7 lessons are the beginning of letting go of everything that you believe about time and space. Those first 7 lessons, it's kind of like the Buddha saying, empty your mind. Jesus is saying, here, I'm going to give you some good instructions on emptying your mind, like the Buddha talked about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then number 7 is pivotal. Here's our book. Let me just open to number 7. I see only the past. I know some of you are wondering if I'm going to answer the question about the script is written, because you don't understand the script is written. Of course you don't understand the script is written. That's obvious. It's not understandable. But it's just it's a metaphor that you have to start to come and open your mind toward, that the world of time and space is a prearranged spider web, a trap, and you can never understand it, but you can forgive it. which means you can release yourself from the belief in it. But even lesson number 7, I see only the past. The script is written as just another version of I see only the past. It's just a variation upon lesson number 7. This idea is particularly difficult to believe at first. Isn't that nice? Jesus understands how difficult it is to take in the idea, I see only the past. Oh, that picture of my family that I keep in my living room. I see only the past. I've known people who do this lesson and they skip over the family portrait when they're doing the lesson. They skip over the things that are on their, photographs in their. That rug does not mean anything. That couch does not mean anything. That's a photo of Mom. I'll skip over that. That dust does not mean anything. That's a portrait of my dad. Damn it, I'm going to. She said, "Let's skip over that one too." Jesus says at the beginning of the Course, it's only when you try to make exceptions to the lessons that you'll run into problems. Problems of finding the holy instant. He means that's what the problem is. You won't find the holy instant if you're going to skip over and make exceptions to the workbook lessons, and to the extent he says you don't even have to actively believe the lessons, just do them, but please do not make any exceptions. Just do the lessons and don't make any exceptions. That can't be that complicated. There's just 2 instructions. Just 2 instructions. But you notice the resistance comes up when you let your eyes move around the room with these early lessons, and you notice you want to make exceptions to the lesson. That's actually just the resistance to the holy instant. That's all that is. It's just resistance to the holy instant. So he says, this idea is particularly difficult to believe at first, yet it is the rationale for all of the preceding lessons. It is the reason, I see only the past, is the reason why nothing that you see means anything. It is the reason why you have given everything you see all the meaning that it has for you. It is the reason why you do not understand anything that you see. It is the reason why your thoughts do not mean anything and why they are like the things you see. It is the reason why you are never upset for the reason you think, and it is the reason why you are upset because you see something that is not there. Old ideas about time are very difficult to change because everything you believe is rooted in time and depends on your not learning these new ideas about it. Yet that is precisely why you need new ideas about time. And then he gives us an example of a cup. He's saying it's not really as strange as you think. I see only the past. Look at a cup. Here's one. Look at a cup, for example. Do you see a cup, or are you merely reviewing your past experiences of picking up a cup? You see how I did that? It's a prop. Picking up a cup, being thirsty, drinking from a cup, feeling the rim of the cup against your lips, having breakfast, and so on. This is my breakfast. If you know me, I'm on a liquid diet now, so breakfast. Are not your aesthetic reactions to the cup too based on past experiences? How else would you know whether or not this kind of cup will break if you drop it? Now the studio crew's upset. They're like, please, God, David, just don't be like Eddie Murphy in Holy Man and start breaking things. But how else would you know if this cup would break, except what you've learned from the past? You would have no idea of what this cup is except for your past learning. Do you then really see it? Wow, that's deep. That's deep. Jesus is saying, do you really see it? Or is it just an example of I see only the past? Now, this is why we're having this whole weekend. I'm telling you, this is primitive, this is basic, this is essential. This is not something that you can kind of skip over. You know, if you know by going to university, if you don't know your addition and subtraction tables, and your multiplication and division tables, and if you don't know algebra, and if you don't know trigonometry, I guess trigonometry comes first, you won't know algebra without the basis of trigonometry, multiplication, division, and addition, subtraction. Because it's building blocks. And what Jesus is saying is, everything that you perceive seemingly through your five senses is all built upon a belief in linear time. And that as soon as you let the belief in linear time go and open your mind to the holy instant, it's game over for the ego. It's game over for history. It's game over for struggles and debates and opinions. It's game over for challenges. It's game over for conflict. It's game over for war. As soon as you accept the holy instant, you have escaped the ego and you've escaped time, and you have opened yourself back to the light of heaven through the holy instant. So now I'm going to shift into, okay, how do I begin to take this on practically speaking? Well, Jesus titled his book, he called it A Course in Miracles. He didn't call it A Course in Revelation. It would be much shorter than this if it was A Course in Revelation. It might have only be 2 words, God is. That's really all you need, is 2 words to precede revelation. But he called it A Course in Miracles because miracles are a way of looking at the world that helps you collapse linear time, the belief in linear time, and it actually, miracles, ultimately the atonement transcends time altogether. But there had to be a plan of awakening that could be related to. And when the mind is so firmly addicted to past, present, future, to linear time, it had to be a plan that would be relevant to the sleeping mind. Because the sleeping mind has forgotten what eternity is. The sleeping mind has amnesia. It has an amnesia, a forgetting of eternity, and now use of memory to make up this artificial construct of history and linear time. So a plan had to be devised in which there would not be too much intense fear, in which the mind could come back toward a full realization of eternity. And it's like that clip that Eric showed last night about the abyss, where to go down into the deep trenches of the ocean, the pressure, the cubic pressure per cubic inch is so intense down in the trenches that if you went down there just trying to breathe air, the lungs would collapse at the deep trenches of the ocean. You could not, a human being could not, a mammal couldn't go down into the deep trenches because there's too much pressure. And similarly, that's where they talk about breathing liquid oxygen. This pink liquid oxygen is the way that they're able to go down. Similarly, as you start with your miracle working functions, you will not experience revelation until you're ready. And the mind decides when it's ready, based on how divested it is from the ego. When you start to divest from the ego, you actually reach a state of miracle readiness, and revelation readiness. And then Jesus knows exactly that state of mind, and then can draw forth revelatory experiences down to a mind that's ready for revelation. But it all is about readiness. And there are many human beings who will go through their entire lifetime without experiencing one single revelation, because the investment to linear time is too thick. It's too thick of a fog. It would be frightening. It would be horrifying for a mind that's convinced of linear time to have a revelatory experience. So you won't have a revelatory experience until you're ready. And then when your mind is ready, Jesus will draw down that light to that mind. And that revelatory experience, all I can say is it's extremely convincing. As you merge with the light and the direct experience of the great rays of heaven, you are shown beyond a shadow of doubt that love is real, that only love is real. And that changes your perception, that loosens you ever so much from the ego as a belief system. And yet, A Course in Miracles is aimed at the miracle, and the miracle is a step towards that revelation readiness. You actually need to become habitually miracle-minded before you're ready for revelation. In other words, that's why he called it A Course in Miracles and not A Course in Revelation, because miracles are much more practical for human beings. The ones that are reading this book, that are actually reading the Course, the mind that's reading the Course, and it's got a body with eyeballs that are moving across the pages, the words and the pages, that mind is in need of miracles to prepare the mind for that revelation readiness. You need to clear the debris of the ego away. The fog has to diminish before you're ready for that bright light, the great rays of heaven and revelation. What is a miracle? A miracle is a way of looking at the world that gives you like a little snapshot of the forgiven world. The miracle simply sees the false as false. Miracles do not create or really change at all. They merely look upon the devastation and remind the mind that what it sees is false. So when you're in that still moment where you're still perceiving the world, but you feel so at peace, the reason you feel at peace while you're looking at the world, still looking at the world, is because of the miracle. The miracle's like, yeah, it's just false. You don't, and what comes with that falsity is not a desire to change it. You just need to see the world as false. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to improve it. You don't need to change it. You don't need to make it better. You simply have to see the false as false. And then you train your mind more and more to see the false as false. In the middle of that argument you're having, you can pause and go, wait a minute, this is silly, and you can stop it, and you can stop that argument in its tracks as you choose a miracle. For example, a workbook lesson, I could see peace instead of this. I will step back and let him lead the way. It can come in any form of workbook lesson, but the miracle is simply seeing the false as false. Another characteristic of the miracle, because I'm going to start shifting more now into the practicalities, so it relates to all your questions. Another aspect of the miracle is the miracle adds nothing. Some of you have heard me, I did a talk, a very deep talk, and used a lot of Course quotes about the movie Tenet, the very popular movie here in 2020, Christopher Nolan movie Tenet, about time reversal. And I did a talk on Spreaker or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whatever you want to search it, whatever devices you use. But basically, I did a whole talk about what I'm talking about today, and I even threw in a few songs that were very turning to peace and say goodbye. Very mystical thing. If you listen to that talk every day, you probably won't even need these online retreats anymore. You'll go off into Blissville. Just listen to that talk every day, and then your mind's like, now you're not going to have many ambitions either. I can tell you, your ambitions for time and space are going to rinse away pretty quickly if you watch that. If you listen, I think there was another talk, I think it's Ken's favorite talk, it's called Dreamer of the Dream. If you start to get real poofy and abstract, but the ego starts screaming, maybe you need to turn on from Spotify, Spreaker, or one of those Apple podcasts. Just listen to Ken's favorite, Dreamer of the Dream, and the ego has no chance. You listen to those two over and over. Because it's lifting your mind. It's part of instructions and letting your mind soar toward the light. Soar beyond time and space. Soar like the eagle with the mighty wings of the eagle. Far, far above the earth. Far, far above the trivial little things of the ego concerns of past and future. Just go soaring every day. Soar. Let your mind soar. Now, in terms of practicality, I've said, I think in the Tenant talk, I actually said that Jesus is telling us your major problem is you try to add something to the script every moment of every day. You're trying to add something to something that's already over and gone. If the script is written, if you're just reviewing mentally what has already gone by, why would you try to add something to something that's already over and gone? That's pretty frustrating. But every time you try to add something, you add an expectation that something should be different. Because you don't get that the script is already written, so you're going to try to make it better. Oh, I'm dating this person and they've got some flaws, but given me enough time, I will make them better. No. These are shadow figures, like Eric said last night, the ego peopled the world. Why are you trying to improve the shadow figures? Why do you want mom to be better? Why do you want dad to be better? Why do you want your children to be better? Why do you want your job to be better? Why do you want your home life to be better? What makes you think that trying to add something to a prearranged script that's already over and done is going to bring you peace of mind? The ego always tries to add to the script. And that's what entropy is about. If you want to go into science and quantum physics, entropy is the belief that there's a movement of energy and that this movement of energy in things moves forward. And that's what entropy is. Of course, we also know it moves forward to destruction. Not exactly the most positive thing in the world, if you're a scientist, but it moves forward to destruction. That's what entropy is, but it's an energy. Like if you have an ice cream cone and you've got a nice ball of chocolate on your ice cream cone and you go and stand in the sun and you hold this ice cream cone in the sun will seem to melt, the warmth of the sunlight will melt that ice cream, and then the ice cream will melt and it'll run down on your hand and you'll have a cone with just a bunch of runny chocolate on it and everything. And entropy would teach you that you can't go back. You can't just go, ooh, get your magic wand out and go, ooh, and make the cone, the ice cream come back on the cone. It's basically, it moves in one direction. When something evaporates, it evaporates. When some words come out of your mouth, they don't come back into your mouth. Unless you watch that Return to Innocence video with Enigma, That's your time inversion one. But if you listen to my talk on Tenet, time inversion is just as much of an illusion as entropy and moving forward, because they're both constructs of the ego. You can't... And the reason why we like these time loop movies, like why do we like Groundhog Day? Groundhog Day shows the loop to us, and he can't seem to change the loop. Try though he may, in fact he tries to even kill himself, throws himself in front of a truck and puts a toaster into an oven to try to kill him. He can't even kill himself. He can't change the script. And something in us loves that. When we watch Bill Murray trying to change the script to escape from the time loop in Groundhog Day, we kind of laugh because we've been trying to do the same thing. We've been trying to change something in time, and it doesn't work. If you watch Groundhog Day, you can watch the movie Looper. You can watch Butterfly Effect. We've got so many movies in the Movie Watcher's Guide to Enlightenment, and the reason you might enjoy them is not because you actually can time travel, but it's just because these movies start to show you different time ideas that are different than what you're accustomed to. You're accustomed to something so much that you think past, present, and future is so real that you're addicted to it, but you don't even know you're addicted to it. And then you watch these movies like Butterfly Effect, and it just starts to show you the futility of trying to change the things of time. You can change your mind. Jesus tells you can change your mind. You can forgive it. You can forgive it. You've got the power to forgive it, but you can't change the script. You can change your perception of the script from one of a linear filter to a simultaneous filter. And if you start to see it in a simultaneous way, then you feel really happy and free. We were talking about the movie Matrix right before we started. What was the guy's name? The train man. The train man. And when Neo finds himself on this train master, whatever his name is, he's a vicious character. And I think Sam's into astrology. She was telling me Sagittarius. She said time is the most wicked of anything. Yeah, it's the most wicked. I don't call it Sagittarius, call it whatever you want. It's a wicked belief because it denies that you're the Christ. It denies that you're the holy child of God, created by a perfect creator. That's what's wicked about it. It's like the spider web, it's sticky, but it's not real, it's not true. So I've already just established that the miracle adds nothing. When you just are able to look at the world and see the false as false, you have no desire whatsoever to add anything. You're not going to make a better anything. In fact, even with the Course, this is like what they call the original edition of the Course. And how many editions are there now? Like 5, 6? What do we got? New improved Course. New improved, better Course. No, listen, we're supposed to learn it and to practice it, and it's okay with the original. You don't need 6 versions of the original. All you have to do is practice, put into practice, and go for the holy instant. And that's it. You don't need variations. You don't need to become a scribe or a Pharisee and study something. It's a trampoline. You're meant to spring off of this thing. This book is a trampoline. This is not an end point. He even says that in there. This Course is a beginning and not an end. Jesus is telling you it's just a trampoline. Have some fun. Have some fun bouncing off of time. Enjoy. Soar. Go soaring. Soar with me. Don't sit here and start debating about this passage and this interpretation. And Bill Thedford said if 2 Course students get into an argument about a particular page in the Course, he said, rip the page out. That was one of the first 2 Course in Miracles students. You got to like that attitude. He was not trying to make the Course into a special book, a sacred book. He said, if you get in an argument over a passage, rip the page out. Well, that's a nice way to think of that. The miracle's inside of you. It's not inside the book. The book is just the trampoline. It's got the little symbols of symbols twice removed from reality, pointing you towards this glorious state of mind. And it's already you. You're already this state of mind. You don't even have to do anything, like Eric said last night. That's what I Need Do Nothing section is. You don't even have to do anything to get back to the holy instant. You have to just welcome it. You have to desire it. You have to pray for it, and you will experience it. But you don't have to do anything. In fact, he even says, you can't prepare for the holy instant without placing the holy instant in the future. And it's not in the future. It's now. It's right now. There's a line in, I think it's in lesson number 8, where Jesus says, let me get me from 7 to 8. He says, it is difficult for the untrained mind to believe that what it seems to picture is not there. This idea can be quite disturbing and may meet with active resistance in any number of forms. And basically he's saying that the only value that the past holds is that you let it go, and the only value that the past has is you see that it is not here. It is literally not here. This is from lesson number 8. The one holy true thought one can hold about the past is that it is not here. To think about it at all is therefore to think about illusions. To think about the past at all is to think about illusions. Very few have realized what is actually entailed in picturing the past or in anticipating the future. The mind is actually blank when it does this because it is not really thinking about anything. Those are strong words. All I can think of is Buddha would have loved this. Krishna would have loved this. Ramana Maharshi would have loved this. This is Jesus Christ speaking about the complete escape from time, linear time. And it's right there for us to read and to take it into our hearts. And you can fill your own name in with all the great mystics and saints because you've heard it now. And now all you're asked to do is apply it, is to totally take that into your heart. That the only holy, true thoughts you can have about the past is that it is not here. I know the questions that came in were about that George and Joe. George, it's so beautiful, you wrote it out. You said, my memory seems to have knowledge and experience. Is there not anything about my past that is helpful for my knowledge to keep and function in this world? How do I decipher what to forgive and what to keep or do? I forgive absolutely everything to the Holy Spirit. That's beautiful. That's beautiful, George. And from what I'm sharing right now, the answer is an unequivocal no. The past is gone, and only its loveliness has been saved for you. The Holy Spirit has a picture of the past that has no judgment. So he sees the world in a unified state of mind, in a simultaneous state of mind, in which it's a purified form of the past. It's what he calls the happy dream or the real world. It's the forgiven world. That's the only value that the past has for you now, is the forgiven world. And you're asking here, will it help me? Can I keep this and function in this world? Well, that's actually the only way that you can function in the world in a peaceful way, is through this forgiven state of mind. Now people look at my life and they say, David, you're still talking, you still have breakfast, iced tea, you still have a cup in your hand and pressing against your lips and all these things, and you still seem to be functioning. You're on the internet talking to us right now, but it comes from a state of mind that has let go of trying to see value in any of the images, of trying to divide using faulty ego judgments and opinions. It's simply functioning from a place of happiness and joy, of acceptance, where you are my brother, we are perfect equals, we are the same, we are the very same, we are perfectly equal, and we're teaching and learning this perfect equality right now. And it's very joyful, it's very happy to teach and learn equality. Nobody's ahead, nobody's behind, no person is free or stuck. It's a state of mind where our equality is very obvious and very apparent. And then Joe, right next to you, what a prayer, Joe. Joe's prayer, this is a prayer for all of us, so take this one in. Joe says, my prayer is to experience the release of the concept of time as a linear process and experience the holy instant. To let go of the egoic notions of time and rest in the knowledge that the script is written, and time is simply a tool to be used by the Holy Spirit to bring me to stillness and guide me to the truth of what I am and where I am. Merrily, 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 this life is but a dream. My prayer is to move from some understanding of this truth to the embodiment of it, to experience the happy dream. Wow, you guys are right there together. You have the same prayer, the same question leads into the same experience. It's all headed in the same direction, towards happiness, towards freedom, towards joy, towards release, towards holy relationship. That's what it's all about. And so I thank you for that, for bringing that up. And we go back to the miracle. Now, you can't really describe something just in terms of what it doesn't do. And I said before, the miracle sees the false as false, and the miracle never adds anything. The miracle does not add. It does subtract. It takes away the past. It takes away what never was. The miracle takes away what never was. The miracle takes away the interference. And isn't that the prayer of your heart? What could healing be except taking away the interference of what always is so? So that's why the miracle collapses time. That's why the miracle brings the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, together. Sometimes I've described linear time as like a long stalk of celery, and you get your cutter knife out, and every time you have a miracle, you're chopping that stalk of celery. Every miracle, and I'm not just talking about for you, but for the whole sonship, whenever you have a miracle, you chop off a bit of that stalk of celery, and then it seems to get shorter and shorter. If you keep bringing the pieces together after you chop sections of the celery out, it will just come down closer and closer to the present moment. All you're doing when you have a miracle is you're saving yourself thousands of years and saving everyone. You're saving the whole sonship. You're saving everyone thousands of years, every miracle that your mind experiences. Now, there's 50 principles of a miracle, and those are fantastic. Jesus that's how he starts his book out, with first principle, miracle principle. There's no order of difficulty in miracles, and then he gives you 50. But I know a lot of you are saying, yeah, it's hard for me to think of myself as a miracle worker because I think of myself in so many other ways. And I can relate to that. At the beginning, I was like reading the Course, and Jesus was saying, you're a miracle worker, and I thought, well, I can't tell my mom that, because she's just going to laugh if I tell her I'm a miracle worker. And then he said, you're a teacher of God. And I said, I can't say that either. Teacher of God. Oh, come on, David. But actually, we are miracle workers and teachers of God, actually. Those are beautiful symbols for us as we're awakening. And I know a lot of you are saying, I would like to relate to being a miracle worker. And Jesus does say that for the miracle worker, time and space are under your direction. So that means if you join with Jesus and the Holy Spirit in the miracle, time and space are under your direction. They didn't teach me that in Sunday school. I did not hear that in Christian Sunday school, that if I would work miracles, time and space would be under my direction. And yet, over the last 25, 30, 34 years of working with the Course, I've experienced that time collapse. I've experienced that I lose track of the passage of time. I've experienced that my memory can't even hold things that it once seemed to try to hold about the past. I have experienced that it seems like the entire projection seems to be under the Spirit's direction, and the Spirit is always rearranging perceptions. What do I mean by that is the Spirit's always reminding me that mind is causative and that the world has no causation in it. How does that relate to what I talked about past, present, future? Well, if you believe in linear time, you also believe in lack, and you also feel guilt. And every construct of linear time, that past, present, future, past causing the present, causing the future, is erroneous. Let's take practical examples. Have any of you ever had a mortgage for your house? What is a mortgage but a loan, right? And when you go into the bank or the mortgage company, the reason you're taking out a loan or a mortgage is to be able to buy the house. And when you're buying the house, what did they tell you? They tell you at the mortgage broker or at the bank, they said, oh, you want to buy a house on time. When you buy something on time, it means you make payments. You have to make payments for it. This is ridiculous. We're children of God, and we're trying to buy a house on time. Now, I know I kind of had this intuitive sense, in my whole life that I thought, I really wasn't so keen about credit cards, mortgages, loans. I figured, well, if that comes in, it must be Jesus using something in a helpful, merciful way from what I still believe in to help me undo the belief in time. It's all about undoing the belief in time. Interpersonal relationships are to be used by the Holy Spirit to undo the belief in interpersonal relationships and take you into the holy instant. The belief in time and handling of money, you need to give that over to Jesus, and you need to say, Jesus, you need to direct my financial affairs. You need to direct my relationships. You can direct my diet. Last night we were hearing about food and the idea of trying to use it for comfort and control, and then the whole solution is giving it over to the Holy Spirit and saying, please guide me in eating. If you need to be guided in terms of exercise, guided in terms of medication, guided in terms of your finances, these are all practical uses of bringing what you believe over to the Holy Spirit to use to unwind your mind from this belief in linear time, because you're unwinding your mind from the ego. It's the same with absolutely everything. And from what we heard last night from Eric, from what Svava had written, from what I've shared today, it starts to be apparent that time itself, even if it's an illusion, it doesn't help you if you believe in its reality. Just to say the illusion of time, like we have in the title of this weekend retreat, it doesn't do you any good just to twinkle your nose or to click your fingers or click your heels and say, time is an illusion. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Time is an illusion. There's no place like home. It doesn't do you any good to repeat the words, because it goes deeper than the words. This is really deep. This is juicy deep. This is really juicy deep, I'm telling you. And so your questions are usually, practically speaking, then how should I deal with time? If I believe in it and I'm guilty, not in reality, but because of my belief in linear time, how am I supposed to deal with time? I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked, because that's what I'm going to talk about. How do I deal with time? Well, Jesus tells us that time and space are just as neutral as the body. There's nothing good or evil about time. It's the purpose for which you use time that's important. Because it's the purpose, if it's the ego's purpose, it will arrange it in terms of linearity, and it will sequence events and characters and shadow figures in ways that will keep you feeling guilty. That's the only way the ego is going to use linear time, is to keep you in it, or believing that you're in it. It's very simple. The ego is a death wish. And to believe you're stuck in time is what death is. That's what hell is. Don't have to worry about burning in a fiery hell. Believing that you're in time, that's enough. That's enough hell to deal with. And that has to be seen as the ego's purpose. The Holy Spirit has a different purpose, and only a constant purpose will it endow events with stable meaning. The only way you can start to feel more of a sense of peace is through the Holy Spirit's forgiveness. And that purpose is a loosening from the belief in linear time. You feel more flexible, more fluid, more spontaneous. And that all sounds good, and so you may say, well, that sounds good, David. Sentimentally, I'm with you this morning. Sentimentally, I'm with you. Practically, I have a few things I'm dealing with that I don't think they seem like time issues, but I'm sentimentally with you. Can you give me some examples? Can you give me some practical examples that will help bridge the seeming gap, the gulf? Well, let me just use the parable of David. You know, Jesus had all these beautiful parables 2,000 years ago. I'll use a few of the parables of David. So, if we go back in the parable of David for teaching, learning purposes, let's roll it back to, first of all, 1958. It's the birth of David at Good Samaritan Hospital. And then let's roll it forward to 1986, when then a 28-year-old David finds the Course. So I'm going to roll quickly. You see, I'm passing over a lot of the stages, but okay, born in the hospital. Now, he's got the book in 1986 at La Jolla, Southern California. He's got the book in his hand for the first time. And he starts to open the book. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, wow. There's a big wow, like a tsunami of love going over to David in 1986. Like, wow, wowza, whoa, wow, we've just hit the jackpot of self-realization directness. Whoa, 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 whoa. And still, though, it's like, oh, like Eric said, it's about 8 hours a day of popping the book open and praying and getting answers, and it's very good. So, okay, that's 1986. Let's roll the next 5 years. What is David doing after this encounter with Jesus and the Course in Miracles in 1986? Well, he's paying off student loans. He's working different jobs, Ohio Valley, Goodwill, vocational rehabilitation, job coaching, counseling coaching. There's a series of jobs that seem to come into David's life, and he's reading and experiencing the Course. He's opening himself to be a miracle worker, and right away Jesus is, how's that for practical? Paying off debts? Paying off debts? Well, that's exactly what's going on from 1986 after 10 years of university, from 1976 to 1986, after 10 years of full-time university, of undergraduate and graduate school, and a couple degrees, that starts the phase with the Course in Miracles. The first 5 years are reading, praying, studying, practicing, giving everything over to Jesus. Guide me, direct me. And what do you think Jesus is working on? He's working on how to correctly perceive relationships. He's paying off student loans. He's doing it all. He's orchestrating the chess pieces on the chessboard to handle things. And even though I may have believed I was doing it through working jobs, Jesus is like, yeah, well, okay, I'll take care of this. And he does. And he handles so much in those first 5 years. But that's what I mean by clearing your mind of these beliefs, like in scarcity, debt, owing people things, re-perceiving relationships, to let go of grievances, to feel the heart-to-heart connection, to start to see we're all equal, to start to see nobody's ahead, nobody's behind. There's a lot of purification that goes. Jesus says miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. So we'll just say during those 5 years of 86 to 1991 was a period of paying off debts, of refocusing my purpose, my intention for relationships. There was course groups, it was even toward the end of that 5-year period, people started showing up and saying things to me like, I am your student. After like 4 or 5 years, I had people showing up from different locations just saying, I am your student, you're my teacher. That's what all happened during this kind of straightening out of perception and this clearing away. Jesus will clear away as many past mistakes, which means just addiction to the past. He'll clear away as many past mistakes as possible, as quickly as possible, and that's kind of what the first 5 years were. And then, after the first 5 years, then we come back to 1991, and all of a sudden, I start going to course groups and telling everybody, I think Jesus is going to have me travel. And travel? Wait a minute, travel? I don't even like traveling. David's like, what? Travel? How? Where's the money going to come from? You can't just go, travel where and how? Oh, around the United States. Oh yeah, that's great. He didn't say that at first, he just said go west. You see how Jesus doesn't want to scare the David character too much. So it's just go west. So I started sharing in course groups. I think I'm going to be traveling. Does anybody want to go along with me? There was a priest who was at one of my Course in Miracles meetings on, I think, Tuesday nights, Kay Copeland's, Father John Seiler, and he's like, I think I want to go with you. He told me of his encounter with the Lucketts out in California, and he just was a priest who was getting excited about the Course. I think I want to go with you. And then another friend of mine, Beverly, she wanted to go with me, and she was in the convent from like 14 to 21. And so I have a former nun and a priest who want to travel with me. I'm like, holy Jesus, I don't even like to travel. It's a small car, and you're putting a nun, an ex-nun and a priest in the car with me. My gosh, what is going on here? And then the ex-nun and the priest, the ex-nun said, there's no way I'm going on an undefined trip out west with a priest and you in the car. There is just no way. The ex-nun had a few issues. The worst was with a priest. You sticking me in a little car with a priest. I left the convent. I left the Catholic system. I'm not hopping in a car with two crazy guys. One of them's a priest. I said, well, why don't you two work it out? And so you two should have dinner. They ended up having dinner, and the priest, I think, bought her dinner and actually said, yeah, you're right, there's no way that we could both be in the same car. The priest said, "Here, I'll give you a donation. You go with David." So that was how my first trip launched. You know, Jesus didn't tell me, but he was going to take me on the road. I didn't even like to travel, but he was going to take me on the road for 5 years. 5 more years. My first 5 years were training and immersing with the Course, and then the next 5, from 1991 to 1996, were traveling around with hundreds, thousands of holy encounters. The thing is, he said, "I'll take care of you," Jesus said. And I said, yeah, I have no money in the bank. I have no church or organization support, and you're taking me traveling across the United States, and I didn't even know, and Canada, with what? With no money. Yeah, that's part of learning divine providence. Well, that just shows you how much we're called into the present moment, because I was used to earning money and spending money as a person. I was used to paying for everything. Jesus had to get me out on the road to say, no, I'm going to take care of you. I'll make. These were like miracles, being taken into people's houses, people filling up the car with a tank of gas, people making a sandwich or a brown bag lunch for me, people offering, "Let me take you to lunch, let me do this and this." It was hard, actually very hard for me to receive that Jesus was actually arranging time and space for somebody who was raised with the Protestant work ethic of earn the money, save the money, do your research and spend the money wisely. That was my mindset as a human being, and Jesus was saying, no, I'm in charge. You'll be traveling and you'll be shining the light, and I'm going to, eventually he said, I'm going to speak through you. Speak through me. No, wait a minute, I don't like to travel, and I'm the shy guy. You forget, I'm the shy guy. I'm the shy guy. I'm not the guy that is like, Moses even stuttered. This is 2000 and, this is 1991, 92, 93. I'm the shy guy. He's like, yeah, well, we'll see. I'm going to speak through you. But my mom and dad told me never talk about God in public. Yeah, it's okay. I'm in charge. I'm going to speak through you. Yipes, 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 yipes. So anyway, that was 5 years of undoing the shy guy and all the belief in I know how to handle finances and I know how to work and spend money. Jesus is like, yeah. Well, it's a different show now. I'm running the show. I will give you the guidance and you will follow. You're going to learn how to listen to guidance and follow guidance. Don't go try to run the show and think you're David and 10 years of university and 2 degrees and you know how this world works. Jesus is like, you don't understand anything. You are in great need of guidance, and you're not going anywhere spiritually. You're not going to wake up with past learning. All you have is past learning. And I said, what do you mean? And he says, well, like when you travel, you think you're meeting new people. And you're really not. What do you mean I'm not? I'm on the road every day, I meet new people. No, he says, you think they're new people. But they're just versions of your past. All the people you meet are just shadow figures based on your past learning. And you're just judging them based on how they look, how you think they look, how much education you think they have, how sociable you think they are, how friendly they are, or how grumpy or how kind. It's all the past. You're just meeting yourself every day, but you're really only meeting your past judgments and interpretations of who you're seeing. You're not really seeing at all. This is a hallucination. You are hallucinating your past beliefs, and you just seem to bump into them and run into them every day, and you call it new. But the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun, and there's definitely not. It's just the past. It's Groundhog Day. You're just meeting your past beliefs over and over. Why do you think you know your mother? You only know your beliefs about your mother. And that's not knowing anything. Because your mother is spirit. and so is your best friend, and so is that person you met at the gas station, and so is that person you met in the rest area. They're all spirit, but you're just perceiving them based on your past learning. And he had to start to show me that that is not seeing at all. That's hallucinating. You know, I studied psychology when I was in undergrad and grad school. And then Jesus has to tell me, yeah, you studied all these different psychological diseases and psychological distortions and patterns. I said, yeah, I do know a little bit about psychology. He says, you understand nothing. He said, what do you know about psychology? I said, well, psychosis is, I know that's a break from reality. He said, yeah, that's why you're psychotic. You've had a break from reality. And reality is heaven. Reality is love. Reality is spirit. Reality is oneness. And David, you are psychotic. Because you are seeing a world that's not there, and you're generating all these images based on your belief in the past, belief in the ego. It's all specialness. So I'm psychotic. Yeah, you've had a break from reality. You are psychotic. You don't have to get a diagnosis from a psychiatrist. Jesus said, the way you are thinking right now and perceiving, that is psychosis. I said, well, what about schizophrenia? Isn't that a split mind and you hear multiple voices? He said, yeah, you're schizophrenic too. You have a split mind and you're talking to people that aren't even there. And you're hearing voices every day. The voices of your mother, your father, your neighbors, the people you meet on the street. That's the multiple voices. You're quite schizophrenic too. I said, what about denial? Yeah, you're in heavy denial. You've denied the holy instant and God. What about delusions? Yes, your mind is filled with delusions. You're delusional. Yeah. What do you think this course is about? You're in great need of help. You're not a healthy functioning human being. You're a mind that is believing in delusions and is disturbed by its own delusions that are made up by giving your mind over to the ego. Well, anyway, back to the parable of David. So then 5 years, and then after 5, the next, it seems to go in periods of 5. 5 years of undoing and integration, 5 years of travel, of learning how to listen and follow. What comes next? This little house, Peace House, comes in, and I kind of got a feeling that this would be a house that I would use to launch out to the world, to do first travels around the United States, and then eventually, I didn't really see the extent of the world travels coming, but that was like a little anchor, a base, a little house built in 1847, looked like a little gingerbread house in a city of Cincinnati, and that's my launching pad. And then he knew me pretty well. He first brought some dream figures in to be with me, to help collaborate, but then he vacuumed them out of the house and left me with 2 cats. He knew I had some deep stuff to go through. It's better to go through it with cats, I think, in my case, because we didn't argue about the course. The cats were like, no, your job is to be the doorman. You feed me, pet me, and let me go in and out of the door. That's all your job is. And no back talk. Just feed, open and close the door, and no back talk. Let's get into a helpful kind of purring connection here. Learn how to respect the purr. Is basically, that's what that was. So that went on for a number of years too. And then the world travels came in, starting around 2003 with the trip to Argentina. Again, Jesus arranged everything. He had me meet a guy with my same name, David, who I'd never met, who had won a Latin America contest with airlines for frequent flyer miles, Grupo Taka and all these different Latin American airlines, and he basically said, why don't you go to Argentina, first class, ejecutiva, and pick a couple more people you'd like to go, and he wanted to go. So the four of us flew down like business class, and there was huge miracles down in Argentina. I don't even speak Spanish, but Jesus arranged like 19 consecutive gatherings in one of the largest cities in the world, and I don't even speak Spanish. He arranged the translators. He took care of the airfare. He took care of the lodging. He took care of everything. This is what I mean by how you have to really experientially let Jesus lead the way, because as long as you're trying to do it from your past learning, it's going to seem very futile and frustrating, actually. As long as you think that you personally got to figure out how to escape from time, it's going to be very, very much of a struggle if you are trying to use your past learning to figure out how to escape. So again, there was lots of world travels. I see some of you, there's Roberto, Brazil, I see different ones, 44 different countries, many different languages, and showing up and letting people host me. Most of the times I wasn't staying in hotels, I was staying with people, hosted in their house, in a guest room or on an empty space on the couch or something here. And then you get to let go of everything else. Your past learning around food preferences. You get to let go of your past learning about climate preferences. You get to let go of all your past learning about relationship preferences, about spirituality. You get to let go of all of your beliefs around spirituality. You get to literally let Jesus empty your mind of everything. And everything is part of a prearranged plan, so it's not like you can control the form, but you can let the form be shown to you by Jesus, that's what the surrender is. You don't try to direct and control the direction of the feather in the wind. You have to let the feather blow in the wind, and you appreciate wherever the wind carries the feather. But you don't try to control the direction of the wind. You can't control the Holy Spirit, for sure. You can allow the Holy Spirit to move through you like a conduit and arrange time and space, and that's when you get happy. That's what it means to be a miracle worker. You allow Jesus and the Holy Spirit to arrange time and space for your mind, not for your body. That's just part of the reconfiguration. But for your mind. Your mind wants peace. Your mind wants to be at rest. So that went on for years and years. And then again, cause and effect. Things just show up. Things just appear because they're arranged by Jesus and the Holy Spirit. I had a community over in Hawaii, and some of you have heard Francis and I tell the story of how we had signs and symbols back in Utah before we even went to Hawaii. A lady doing a counseling session coming running out and bursting in joy saying, Hawaii is the answer. We're like, what? And then we're in a rural, we're out by the monastery on this rural highway, 2-lane highway, and we're waiting to turn out on the highway, and a car goes by, and we look at it and it's got Hawaii license plates, and we're like, what? Hawaii's the answer, and Hawaii license plates in Utah, in rural Utah. What's the vehicle? Why does it have Hawaii license plates? Then we go out, we get ready to board a plane, we start to get a message from our friend in Hawaii, oh, you got to see this house over there in Hawaii on the Big Island, and I'll show it to you when you come, and okay, all right. We get over there, we do like a retreat. This woman says, yeah, I called a realtor and she'll take you down there. This lady, she studied the Course, who lives there. We didn't know that. We got in there and there was a Course in Miracles book on the table in the house. We're like, whoa, see, just signs and symbols. And then Frances looked at me and she said, I think we're supposed to get this place. Yeah, right. on the edge of the ocean, overlooking the ocean in Hawaii. Yeah, that's a few of us have like Elisa's on here. She told me she wants her house in Hawaii. This one's on the coast overlooking the ocean, and it's like there, and I'm just like, and looking down at the course book, and Francis is saying, I've got good vibes, I think this is the house. I'm like, yeah, that's nice. Well, before we knew it, a donation came in within $3,000 or $4,000 of the asking price of the house. A donation came into us, and I signed the papers for the house before we left Hawaii. I had no intention of going and buying a house in Hawaii, I'll tell you. But the signs and symbols, starting with Utah, and then the donation coming in, and then me signing the papers, it was part of a nonprofit. It came into a nonprofit, so there it was. And then for some time, a few years or so, whatever, that was a group, that was a community we had in Hawaii, on the big island of Hawaii. And the monastery in Utah came in the same way. That came in through donations. During the big housing crash, when 2008, when the whole economics of the world, the housing crisis burst, and it was the worst time to buy or sell a house. In terms of that happened in 2008. Other properties, different things came in, but this is like a fairy tale. The reason I'm telling you about this is I can't really consider the parable of David as an actuality because it seems like a fairy tale. The way things have happened in it are not things based on the way I think things should happen. It always was a bit surprising. It always came in very rapid ways. But I can say now, it was just the Holy Spirit and Jesus using the symbols. It was a fairy tale. And I'm not talking about a grim fairy tale either. I'm talking about a joyful, happy fairy tale. Is the only way I can describe the parable of David. Because there were too many experiences that were way out of pattern, that I didn't even see them coming. They just dropped in, and again, dropped in and dropped in. And you can talk to different, Lisa and Francis, Suzanne, Jason, the different ones, all the ones, and more recently, everyone here in our community, Svava, even with the house, with the temple where I am now, it all came in with all kinds of quantum experiences that are unexplainable, like just dropped in, almost like a stage where props get dropped in. Next scene, drop them in. Next scene, drop them in. It's not linear. It's very, very quantum. It's very, very miraculous. And it's very convincing if you want to be convinced of the power of the presence of the Holy Spirit and of the power of the present moment. These kind of experiences are not theoretical. They are not something where you kind of methodically work hard to personally try to make something happen. I never have done any vision boarding or manifesting prayers, or I have never done one manifesting prayer in my entire life. I have never vision boarded a single thing. I'm just too dazzled by the way things drop in without any kind of conscious thought. It's like drop, drop, drop. Everything is given not through trying to change the world or hoping for a better world, but just whatever seems to serve the plan comes without effort. It comes very effortlessly. And that's why I wanted to share that with you this morning, because I know your questions always involve the practicalities, like here's what I'm dealing with. And you have to start there. You have to start there. That's where I started. I think I will take one question, written question, and then I'll open it up if we have a little time left. David from Michigan. I'll just use your question right now, and then tomorrow Francis and I will get into a lot of other questions. But David, thank you for your heartfelt questions, and very, very deep and very practical. David writes, "Hi David and Francis, I'm really looking forward to this weekend and have a couple of questions for you. In the course, Chapter 21, Section 2, the responsibility for sight, Jesus says, 'This is the only thing that you need do for vision, happiness, release from pain, and the complete escape from sin. Say only this, but mean it, with no reservations, for here the power of salvation lies. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience, and I decide upon the goal I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked.' He then says, 'Acknowledge but that you have been mistaken, and all effects of your mistakes will disappear.' In another section he says, 'I need only ask for complete undoing of judgment in my mind and for the ability to see with true vision, and it is done.' I repeat these thoughts daily, and still the challenges continue to fluster me. Does Jesus mean that everything will literally disappear immediately? Can you talk to this, please?" So first I'll address that. We know intuitively from the power of what I was sharing about the holy instant that to the extent that the holy instant is desired and opened to that extent things can disappear, even in an instant. That's to me what Revelation showed me. It was just a moment in which there was only light, and there was nothing else. So everything else completely disappeared. In the presence of the great rays, there is no darkness. In the Bible it says, "Perfect love casts out fear." That's the meaning of the biblical line, "Perfect love casts out fear." That as we open to the holy instant, then fear cannot abide in that light. Fear disappears in the presence of that light. And it is our calling to bring the darkness in our mind to that light, to come to the present moment. So it can be an instant, because it is an instant, and yet to the extent that the mind wants to hold on to the belief in linear time and the things of time, then the miracles will just collapse the amount of time that it will take to let go of all illusions. Miracles collapse time. They save time for everybody. They shorten time. They bring the end of time closer in awareness because of the miracles. And then you did continue on and say, in one of your YouTube videos you spoke about this. Jesus says to question every value that you hold, everything you believe in. Don't stop until you have found the peace that passeth all understanding. Question number 1. What is the question I need to ask about each value? What is the question I need to ask about each value? And I think I would say the question thing about everything, each thing that you value is just, what is it for? What is the purpose? When you ask what is it for, it already starts to loosen the mind from the fixed ego belief in what is a car for? Transportation. What is a phone for? Communication. What is a house for? Shelter. These are all made up. It's part of the matrix. The ego has made up different values and different meanings for everything that's perceived. And when you say, what is it for? Really, really in my heart of hearts, what is it for? Jesus will tell you, it's just for forgiveness. It's only to go beyond it, to not be arrested in this false belief system of specifics and specific things. It's always for forgiveness. But that's the question I would ask with everything that is valued. What is it for? Can you give examples of the values we can question? You came to the light through the Eastern path of negation. Negate everything you believe in, and what's left is real. Some of you know the Eastern path of neti-neti. Not this, not that. Well, this is question everything. Negate everything you believe in, and what's left is what's real. What does it mean to negate? What was your thought process you used to accomplish this? Well, let's go back to that question. Can you give examples of the values we can question? It's good to have practical examples, just to help bring some clarity. When I read your question, I immediately, give me some examples of the things that we can question. I immediately thought of Jesus in his course, and what came to mind was workbook lesson 50 and workbook lesson 76. I'll take a sip of breakfast here. Lesson 50 is called I Am Sustained by the Love of God, and I love it when Jesus gives me specific examples of things I can question, because it's helpful to have. Give me some concrete examples. What are you talking about? Question everything you value. What does it mean? What does that mean? Question everything I value. You mean everything? What does that mean? He says, in this world you believe you are sustained by everything but God. Your faith is placed in the most trivial and insane symbols: pills, money, protective clothing, influence, prestige, being liked, knowing the right people, and an endless list of forms of nothingness that you endow with magical powers. All these things are your replacements for the love of God. All these things are cherished to ensure a body identification. They are songs of praise to the ego. Do not put your faith in the worthless. It will not sustain you. Okay, give it to me straight. Well, thank you for those examples. Any more? And then 26 lessons later, lesson 76, think of the freedom in the recognition that you are not bound by all the strange and twisted laws you have set up to save you. You really think that you would starve unless you have stacks of green paper strips and piles of metal discs. You really think a small round pellet or some fluid pushed into your veins through a sharpened needle will ward off disease and death. You really think you are alone unless another body is with you. It is insanity that thinks these things. You call them laws and put them under different names in a long catalogue of rituals that have no use and serve no purpose. You think you must obey the laws of medicine, of economics, and of health. Protect the body and you will be saved. These are not laws but madness. The body is endangered by the mind that hurts itself. The body suffers just in order that the mind will fail to see it is the victim of itself. There are no laws except the laws of God. Just when I thought he was going to let me off the hook, then he continues. It's like he continues. It's like as I'm flabbergasted, as I'm gobsmacked, he continues. It's the same lesson. Today we will begin the longer practice periods today with a short review of the different kind of laws. Elisa, I hope you're watching. Laws. we have believed in, we must obey. These would include, for example, the laws of nutrition, of immunization, of medication, and of the body's protection in innumerable ways. Think further. You believe in the laws of friendship. Friendship? Friendship? You want me to question my value in my belief in friendship? Yes, the laws of friendship, of good relationships and reciprocity. Perhaps you even think that there are laws which set forth what is God's and what is yours. Many religions have been based on this. They would not save but damn in heaven's name. Yet they are no more strange than other laws you hold must be obeyed. I mean, yeah, if we need examples, if we need... Thank you for the Krishnamurti bookmarker too. He's smiling as I'm saying all this. He's like, yeah, very good. That's it. You must be completely disidentified from the world and all of its values. Krishnamurti would say. We have plenty of examples, and that's just the starting point. Because as I was saying earlier, the belief in linear time is the bottom of it all. It's like the root, that's the big root underneath all the things of the world that are valued. And Jesus is not talking about asceticism. He's not saying, well, just put your little G-string on and go out in the forest and walk away from it all. He may guide you to do that. As Eric says, he may guide you to be a monk or a nun. But what he's really saying is, we just need to reinterpret the symbols. Don't push away the symbols that you seem to have in your life. Just give them over to me to reinterpret them. Because it's not asceticism. He's not teaching us to be ascetics and to somehow judge against the things of the world. He's saying, look at the beliefs in the mind. Look at the valuing that the judgments do, where they raise some images up and put some images down. It's this judgment mechanism that divides, that categorizes, that organizes, that analyzes. That's what the ego is. It's a mechanism in the mind that has been applied to the images, and he's saying, give them to me instead. Let you see them through my eyes. See them with the Holy Spirit. See them in perfect equality. See them without judgment. And you will see that the images weren't the problem. It was the arrangement of the images. It was the ordering of the images and the ordering of thoughts that is egoic thought. It's not the images themselves. You don't have to push anything away. Eric talked last night about the Gnostics, and it's fun. The Gnostics are right around the time of Jesus and around the first century. And one of the Gnostics' belief was that the world was an illusion. How's that for some theology right around the time of Jesus in the first century? That the world was an illusion made up by this demigod or demiurge that to block you from knowing who you are. And yet, what did the Gnostics do but try to overcome this illusory world? One of the Gnostics' belief was, they said, well, all the temptations and attractions and things of the world that seem to attract the mind through this demiurge are an illusion, so we can just commit all the vices and give completely in to all the temptations of the world just to prove that they're illusions. And it didn't work. They gave themselves over to hedonism, to pleasure. They said, we know it's not real, so it can't hurt us, so we'll just give into it and escape it. And the flip side of it was where asceticism came from. It's the world's an illusion, so therefore there must be things that are evil and wrong, and we must never do these things, and they got into all kinds of things, which in subsequent centuries, many devout spiritual practitioners would flagellate the body, would beat the body, because they slipped in from thinking, first of all, that it's an illusion and it's not of God, to therefore it must be evil and it must be destroyed or punished. You see, the ego is so clever that even in the first century the Gnostics were onto it, that the world was an illusion, but still the Gnostics struggled with escaping the illusion. Now we have A Course in Miracles from the Master. So, the days of the ego are numbered, because Jesus is so crystal clear, he's so pristine in his teachings, and part of what we're talking about, the illusion of time, is to so we don't fall into its tricks, its traps. And I think we're winding down here today, but I know some of you during the break before the movie today may want something from the Course to really savor during your lunchtime. Maybe you're going to take a lunch break before the movie. So I have picked out a little passage from Jesus for your lunchtime contemplation. And this little passage during these final 2.5 minutes is this. This is from lesson 158. Right here on our Illusion of Time weekend retreat. The revelation that the Father and the Son are one will come in time to every mind. Yet is that time determined by the mind itself, not taught. The time is set already. Yay! The time is set already. It's inevitable. You can't fail. You can't mess it up. It's set. It's the will of God. And just see if the ego can prevail against the will of God. Not a chance. The time is set already. It appears to be quite arbitrary. Yet there is no step along the road that anyone takes but by chance. It has already been taken by him, although he has not yet embarked on it. It has already been taken by him, although he has not yet embarked on it. You don't have to worry. You can't mess it up. You can't choose against God and think you will succeed. It's a done deal. This is done, and this is cooked and baked, and it's out of the oven already. It's cooling. It's cooling. Remember that when you have your lunch today. For time but seems to go in one direction. Remember I talked about this. Time but seems to go in one direction. We but undertake a journey that is over, yet it seems to have a future still unknown to us. Time is a trick, a sleight of hand, a vast illusion in which figures come and go as if by magic. Yet there is a plan behind appearances that does not change. The script is written. When experience will come to end your doubting has been set, for we but see the journey from the point at which it ended, looking back on it, imagining we make it once again, reviewing mentally what has gone by. So just put that in your pipe and smoke that during the break, and we will pray for a movie that is worthy of your perception. And God help us, because we always have to say that during the break, God help us. After that session, God help us with a movie. But we will pray. And so enjoy your break, and there will be a movie coming, and then also tomorrow morning here in Mexico and wherever you are in the world, the time zone, Francis and I will go through the questions that have not been addressed yet by Eric or by myself or by the music, and tomorrow, even if you want to write in more questions, don't hold back. If you've already written a question, you haven't used up your slot, write in another one. Maybe you have a new prayer. Write in a new prayer. It's a deep, deep journey. So thank you all. God bless you, and it's been a joy to be with you, and we are soaring. Just give yourself the permission to soar. Do not feel you are a victim of the world. Do not feel you are a victim of time. And there's so many good questions. I didn't get the chance to talk about Courtney. Courtney wants to talk about humor and being a comedian. We will be comedians for God. We will learn to laugh at this ego. We are not going to take this guilt seriously when we know it is not God's will for us to feel guilty. We're going to soar. So thank you all, and I will see you soon. And I'm in your heart, and you're in my heart, and I'm in your dreams, and you're in my dreams. And we're sharing this one happy dream, and we will not be stopped. We will not settle for anything less than happiness. God bless you.